because whatever the coach did was wrong because the coach didn't do what I said the coach should do. So the coach just does what that person says the coach should do to protect himself with the owner. That's why we're seeing this. And that's why it loses sight. I talked about this yesterday, Chris, with the John, not Jim, say hi to your dad for me. John Harbaugh decision to go for it on 4th and goal from the 2. It's not just go or no go. It's what play do we have that we like? How do we feel about executing that play?
Right.
Can we trust our quarterback not to throw an interception in the end zone?
Right.
Because it's not as simple as saying, well, if we fail, they have it on their 2-yard line.
Yeah.
No, they don't. They have it on their 20.
How good are
There's
they
so
in
many
red zone
factors.
situations? Right.
And what's our vibe today? Like, where do we think their weaknesses are? Where do we think our weaknesses are? How do the plays that we thought going into the game would work in these situations, how do we think now that we're actually 58 minutes into the game, they actually will work? Those are all things you have to trust to the discretion of the coach, and they are not conducive to a mathematical formula. That's where the rubber meets the road on analytics. It is still football. It is still a human-driven game.
Right.
And there are so many factors that can never be quantified. And I don't want to hear this, well, we account for that in the model. Bullshit! You can't have a model that accounts for everything. And if you did, whoever came up with that model wouldn't be on TV, wouldn't be in a team. They'd be in Vegas, beating the odds every single game and keeping their mouths shut about it.
Yeah, well, it's like we talk about. Yes, there's more to it. There's realizing how the game's playing out in real time. There's the human emotion aspect of it. You know, we see it all the time. I mean, it's not just John Harbaugh. You know, I mean, hey, there's a number of games you can point to on Sunday that you don't understand the decision. And it's always about aggressive and the analytics, and I understand that. But, hey, let's look at last night. There was a decision a little like that. It's 14-9. The 49ers are inside the 10-yard line. We're in an era now where the announcers legitimately go
for it.
Go for it. And I'm sure the analytics probably said, well, if they win, if they go for it and score, it's a 64% chance of winning. And if they don't score, it's still a 60% chance of winning. Well, what did Shanahan do? He doesn't get caught up in the moment. He goes, wait, my defense is whooping the crap out of the Rams. We're the better team on the field tonight. Let me protect myself and go up by 8, so if they score a touchdown and 2-point conversion, which is going to be hard against us, okay, so be it. But the game is tied. But I believe, at the very least, it gives us more momentum, more confidence, and we've been the better team on the field. And the longer we play here, the more will separate themselves. Oh, 17-9. Oh, the Rams dink and dunk, and they're fighting for every yard, and we're going to throw it 45 times at 2 feet per throw. And what happens? They throw one of those short passes, it gets intercepted, and game over. So, you know, to your point, yes, there is way more into it than just numbers or numbers on a sheet, which is driving me crazy right now in the NFL.
And I'm sure that I've already fully triggered the analytics mafia, so let me go ahead and say this too. Another thing that drives me crazy, and we have this conversation every year, when you have these two choices, well, we've got a 50.2% chance of winning if we do this. We've got a 49.3% chance of winning if we do that. So let's do the thing that gives us a 50.2% chance of winning. That is so fundamentally flawed because as a head coach, I don't have the luxury of doing this 100 times. I'm not going to get to play the long game over 20 years. If I don't win games, I'm out. So I got to make the decision that I think, for me, in this circumstance, is more likely to help me win the game, not the one that if I do it 100 times, I'm going to get it right a little more than half versus the one that I'm going to get wrong a little more than half. I got to get it right now. I got to pick the one that's going to work right now, this game, this field, these players, these conditions, these circumstances, based on everything I've seen all game long. That's where these, like if the margin is 95 versus 5, okay. But when I hear people say, well, there's a 62% chance of winning if you go for it and a 58% chance of winning if you don't, that's margin of error stuff for me. I want to know what's going to work right now. And I'm not going to be guided by a hair here and a hair there. A big difference, yes. But a small difference, to me, it's just one factor to consider. And the way I'd consider it is, it's irrelevant. I'm going to do what's right in these circumstances.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I am, and you know, it's unfortunate. I think it leads to a lot of the reasons why we're seeing games all over the place. I do. I think it's so caught up in the numbers, head coaches, and playing that game all the time. They've lost their gut instinct and some of their things they've learned throughout the history of coaching about, wait, let me just take the lead and manage the game the right way, or do this and we'll do the appropriate things after. But yeah, it leads to exciting football, but it's momentum changes, and it's a lot of reasons why I think we see teams kind of blow leads on a weekly basis sometimes when they control the football games, because they are a little too number based.
And it de-emphasizes the power of the coach and the influence of the coach. And look, here's what happens. It's like any other industry. The industry changes at the top. You now have owners who are very savvy about analytics. They've got their analytics expert right there at the right hand. And whoever takes that coaching job knows going in, this is just the way it is. It's like a rule change. This is just the rules of how the organizational dynamics work have changed. And I've got to accept that. And I no longer have the autonomy that maybe coaches once had. I now have to adjust and adapt to this person who's going to be talking in my headset, telling me these percentages and expecting that I listen to them because the owner's paying them high six figures to be the one to have all these answers, because they think they can somehow turn this into the same thing as the balance sheet that these owners have mastered over the years to earn billions. I really do think that's why it's taken a foothold, Chris. I've never thought about it that way. But you have all these people, except the ones who inherit their teams, who are successful business people. And they think they can somehow take the magic that they've captured elsewhere to earn billions and translate it into success on a football field. And this is a way to quantify things that are inherently unquantifiable, but they're trying to do it. And I think it's making it harder for coaches to do the jobs the way that they're supposed to be doing the jobs.
Oh, I agree.
If that makes any sense at all.
No, well, yeah, they're being micromanaged. I mean, they're basically being, as I know from a lot of people, are being called into a room on a Monday and having to explain themselves for every decision they've made. And of course, when you have to do that, and you realize that, hey, like to your point, the owner seems to be leaning on the GM and the analytics crew. As a coach, you start to just go, well, crap, I guess I'll just buy in and join the team, so
when in Rome,
I don't get fired.
When in Rome.
Exactly. Right.
I had a GM tell me that it used to be, and I mentioned this, I think, in Playmakers, and I think we've talked about it before, but it's an important point. It used to be the coach could just go in there and bamboozle the owner with jargon. Not anymore, because the owner's got the analytics person there who can cut through the crap, and the owner is asking incisive, tough questions of the coach, and the owners are no longer blown away by all the football jargon, and they keep their mouths shut lest they come off as stupid. That doesn't happen anymore, and it makes it harder for the coach. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.